Hello and welcome to MVP The Master's Voice podcast from MediaBrief.com. I'm your host and friend Pawan R. Chawla, and it gives me immense pleasure to invite yet another distinguished guest on this episode. Please join me as I welcome Saumya Rathor, category lead for PepsiCo India's popular potato chips business. Saumya, welcome to this episode of MVP The Master's Voice podcast from MediaBrief.com, and thank you ever so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Pawan, for having me here, and I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Wonderful, as am I indeed. And my God, you look like a young veteran, Wonderful to meet you. Thank you for your time, Saumya. And thanks also very much indeed to Trisha Sharma and Parushi Sharma, your comms partners from Edelman, who've made this interaction possible. You're in very good comms hands.
No, I really want to thank my Edelman team as well. So thank you. Thank you, Amit, and thank you, team.
Oh, yeah, Amit too. And I just spoke to him and I forgot mentioning his name. Sorry, Amit. Okay. Right, Saumya. We've all seen some excellent campaigns, marketing campaigns that you've released in the recent past. And also your most recent campaign, Isse Kehte Hain Pyaar, which features brand ambassador Ranbir Kapoor and the timeless Neetu Singh. She's my favorite from my younger days. And your campaign is all about the love for Lay's that spans generations. And even I'm also amongst those who can't eat just one. So, of course, we'll speak about this campaign, more about this. But first, allow me to tell my listeners and audiences a little bit about you, Saumya, introduce you to those who just might not be aware of all the good work you've done and are doing. So, by your leave, here goes. My distinguished guest on this episode of MVP The Master's Voice podcast is Saumya Rathor, category lead for PepsiCo India's potato chips business. Saumya has been associated with PepsiCo India for close to 5 years now. She brings with her dynamic experience from across 14 years in marketing and brand management. Prior to PepsiCo, Saumya worked with organizations such as, and they're all big ones, ITC Limited, Amazon India, and Marico Limited. So really wide, rich, and deep experience that Saumya brings in. Saumya is an IIM graduate. She's attended Harvard Business School for a program in organizational leadership, disruptive strategy, and financial accounting. And at Pepsi, prior to Lay's, Saumya led multiple award-winning campaigns on the beverages portfolio for Pepsi, such as, Pepsi Money Heist, Pepsi Seva Restaurants, and Pepsi's Salam Namaste campaign. Saumya has played a pivotal role in creating innovative and groundbreaking narratives for Pepsi in the brand's journey to engage with youth. She's been instrumental in establishing the brand as the culture curator and voice of the youth of the country. So that's my distinguished guest of this episode of MVP The Master's Voice podcast, Saumya Rathor from PepsiCo India. Saumya, welcome once again, and let's begin our conversation. So, Saumya, I mentioned your campaign, Isse Kehte Hain Pyaar. So let's just take off on that because it's really, duo of mother-son is like truly heartwarming. So tell us about the campaign, the ethos of the campaign, what it is all about. There are multiple films, and which was your creative partner.
Thank you so much, Pawan, for the warm welcome and such a massive introduction. I feel I love marketing. And when you were talking, I could imagine all my years fly by my own eyes. So I feel that I think I'm very lucky and very privileged to have had the opportunity to work on some amazing brands in the world, right? And so I guess I'm living my dream in that sense. So thank you so much for such a warm introduction. I think the campaign that you're talking about, which is Isse Kehte Hain Pyaar, is a campaign which is, I think, the closest to my heart. Because I think when you think of Lay's, you think of Lay's as a brand which is very warm and fuzzy. Because everyone has a Lay's story. Lay's is an iconic love mark, and it's consumed by generations, right?
Yeah.
And when we were really figuring out what is the next campaign that we want to do on Lay's, because it's been a while since we'd actually started, promoting our classic flavors, which are the ones that are, loved by everyone. So we knew it was going to be a big magnum opus, but the starting point was always the consumer. For us, consumers is the North Star, right? So we love being close to the consumer insight, the cultural insight. And we realized during our consumer tissue sessions, we realized that love is a very strong emotion. that consumers feel, right? So I think 100% of the mind space of consumers is basically around love, right? They're thinking about their loved ones, they're worrying about their loved ones. And we felt that is such a potent space. So emotion is so potent.
Mm.
Is there like a product truth that we could, also kind of, find out around this whole space of love? And we realized that with Lays as well, people love Lays so much that even if they're sitting with the person that they love the most in the world, they may not want to really share that pack with them. They'll be like, go get your own bag. And I think I've done that so many times with my mother and my brother at home. I'm telling you, I can be a human shield for my mother or a human shield for my brother, and I'll do anything for them. But when it comes to
And also human shield
and a
for your
human shield for
Lays.
my Lays, right? So I felt that there was a very strong human truth and a cultural truth and an emotional truth. And for me, I love campaigns that bring all three together, right? I really believe in storytelling that evokes memories. I believe in, keeping your product right close to that memory, right? So I feel that this campaign has actually turned out exactly the way that we'd envisioned. So I think the insight was the starting point. And of course, Ranbir has been associated with us for many years. And we felt that, everyone does girlfriend boyfriend stories, like everyone, when they think of love, it's all the teenage love, right? And we felt that, let's
Correct.
explore a different angle. We were quite lucky that we could get Neetu Kapoor for the film. And I think this whole campaign has turned around quite beautifully because music is kind of taking the story or the narrative forward, right? The music is all Chanda Hai Tu, which is a song which is so embedded in the memory structure of all kids and all parents, right? So I'm really happy with the
Absolutely.
response that we've got on the campaign. And I think it's a sign of things that are supposed to come on Lays.
Lovely. You're a huge FMCG brand. And obviously, being a brand that is known and available behind the back of Beyond. So the spread is so huge that I think per force your marketing mix has to be mass media. And when you have such huge stars in whom you've invested so much. So what is your media mix for a campaign like this? What was the objective of the campaign? You already are a known brand. So you obviously were not trying to create awareness for Lays. It was, I think, a new positioning of the product through an emotional connect. So what was your objective with this new kind of narrative that you've given? And how much time did it take from first thought to this? And what was your marketing mix?
It's a good question because I do believe that FMCG touches millions of consumers at a yearly basis, right? Like when I even think about my brand, and I kind of, always say that we pretty much created the chips category, Lay's, right? So that is definitely a mass product. And for us, that's why it's important to hinge on a mass insight, but say it in a very young way, right? And I think the objective really, like you rightly said, it wasn't to drive salience. Like my brand is aware. Everyone knows a Lays. Everyone has a favorite Lays color. And like I said, everyone has a Lays story, right? Like Lays has always been a part of your lives. So the objective really wasn't to drive awareness, but the objective was to drive a distinctive anchor on the brand, right? And I feel that for me, that's really important. Like I think when you spoke about Pepsi as well, right? Pepsi is a quintessential challenger, irreverent brand. That's its anchor, right? And when we were thinking about Lays and for the last few years, Lays was talking about innovations, and we've had some massive success in innovation. But I think the big do different for us was like, let's drop an emotive, distinctive anchor. Then what does this brand really stand for? Like if you close your eyes and think of the brands that you had mentioned as well, right? Some of the SUV brands, etc. When you close your eyes, what's the feeling that you want to have towards the brand? Or what's the thought that you have towards the brand? And I think that was really the objective. We wanted to build that distinctiveness. We wanted to build back product love. We wanted to build back taste appeal. And hopefully with this campaign, it kind of does each of that, right? Because it definitely, drops an anchor on distinction and love. But it also says that if you love your flavor, you won't share it with the person that you love the most. And that's heightening the product love and the taste appeal of it.
Absolutely. No, it's a very heart-touching campaign, frankly. It's the kind of campaign that if you're a father or a mother or a son or a daughter, you cannot but be moved by it. And you cannot but identify with it.
Absolutely.
Now this is a campaign with its narrative based anchored on love. It cuts across demographics, cuts across age groups, cuts across everything. And then what you've also done is you have emotionally connected the love for the brand with this. And also it also represents the timelessness of the appeal. Now, how did Ranbir and Neetu like the idea, and what was their contribution to it?
I think both Ranbir and Neetu Kapoor are such brilliant actors, right? I feel that they're so effortless on screen. And I think this campaign kind of needed that naughtiness, the cheekiness. It needed the disappointment of, oh my God, I again lost to mom. Or, oh my God, my son did that. So I feel that both of them were just phenomenal. They were like fire. When we saw both of them come together, it was just like water, actually, not fire, because they kind of fell into that rhythm so soon and so fast. And I think we got just the right
Okay.
nuance. And I have to really call out the director of the ad, which is Vivek Kakkad, who has done a phenomenal job of this, right? I think he's done a lot of past work with us, but I always will tell him that this is the favorite work of his that I've liked. And I think he really got them very comfortable. And in all honesty, like you said, this happens in everyone's household, right? So it's something that's very natural. And for us, we wanted to keep that natural, organic rawness in the film because we didn't want it to look too addy. We wanted it to feel as if, hey, I have just done this with my sibling, or I've just done this with my mother, or I've just done this. And I actually, whenever I show the ad to people, the room kind of erupts in that popcorn way, and they say that, hey, I've done this. I have a story like this, which I think is a delight to any marketer. Because the only thing that we want really is that you love the product and you have conversations about the product and the story. And I think the ad does both of it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And this is truly personalized marketing, if you
Absolutely.
ask me, because there is a PLU quotient, people like us. So whether I'm a billionaire or I'm absolutely somebody in the back of beyond, the emotion and the appeal of that emotion, of that kind of love, is the
Yeah.
same for everybody. So this is truly personalized marketing at unprecedented scale. Because the concept is something that is the biggest net, that you've thrown
I
across.
like it, Pawan. I have to really pause here and tell you that we have so many different definitions of personalization from a marketing perspective. But I think what you kind of said is very interesting because it's personalized because it's tapping into everyone's emotional chord. So I think that's a very interesting perspective.
No, and I thought it's a huge strength of what you've done. Okay, now tell our listeners and viewers about how many ad films there are to the campaign and which is your favorite. Just tell them in brief about each.
We have the main campaign, which is setting the context of this snack showdown that's happening between Ranbir and Mum. And then you have three smaller films, which is taking the magnum opus forward. So you have one film where the situations are different. So it's all in home. So it's all relatable from a in home perspective. So you have one situation which is, Ranbir's helping his mum do laundry, and the mum kind of, does a cheeky stunt, and she runs away with Lays. Then there is one in which Ranbir is, pretending that he's trying to, thread a needle. And the mom, in all the care that a mom has, she's like, okay, no, let me help you. And in that, genuineness and in the intent of helping the son kind of, up trumps her. And then you have another one, which is uh, a situation which is so common in every household where you're watching TV and then the mom starts searching for a TV remote because that happens in every household. Whenever everyone's watching TV remote somehow mysteriously disappears, right? So then she's searching for it and Ranbir falls for that trick because he's like, oh God, mom really needs the remote, right? And then how the mom kind of runs away with her favorite bag of Lays. So I feel it's so those are the main films, but we have a surprise film which I'm not going to talk about, which is going to, that's like a wild card
Really?
for us. And yeah, so I like the wild card the most, Pawan, to be honest. I think that's a very interesting script. But amongst the ones that we've released so far, I really like the main film, because I feel the main film is
Yeah.
setting the context. And then my favorite situation would be the couch and TV situation, because I think
चंदा है तू मेरा सूरज है तू ओ मेरी आँखों का तारा है तू चंदा है तू मेरा सूरज है तू जीती हूँ मैं बस तुझे देख के इस टूटे दिल का सहारा है तू चंदा है तू मेरा सूरज है तू नन्हा सा है कितना सुंदर है तू छोटा सा है कितना प्यारा है तू
सॉरी मॉम, पर प्यार तो इसी को कहते हैं ना।
ये कहे किस माँ का ऐसा दुलारा है
Really, it's beautifully done. And how much time did it take for you guys, you and your agency, etc., to get together and freeze the idea?
I think it's a good question, because I feel that when I had come on the role, I really wanted to, do a campaign which was talking about the larger theme of the brand. And I think my agency partners at Leo Burnett, they were fabulous. We had a workshop and we got the right insight. So I think the insight process is the one that I get excited about the most. I feel that when you crack the right insight, which is at the cusp of product truth, culture truth, and the brand truth, that's when you know that you'll have a good space from an ad perspective. So I'm a big believer from a marketing perspective that I like to do those, that the holy trinity. And I think the agency partners and us, we had a fantastic workshop, and I feel that distilling and sharpening that insight took a bit of time. And then, of course, I feel that once you have that plank, I think you hear a lot of scripts. And a lot of the scripts, some of them, you feel that, yeah, this is the one that's bringing the insight alive in the best possible way. So I think the scripting process took a bit of a time. So I would say the whole thing took about 6 months from conception to, finalization.
Wow.
And of course, being a global company that we are, we have a lot of checks and balances in place. So, so it did take us some time to get here, but I couldn't be more proud of what the team has really accomplished together. And I feel that, of course, I'm talking about it, but I have a whole army of people who have worked on this campaign with me.
That's so gracious of you. Really, truly, I completely understand and respect what you're saying. And take a bow, Saumya, because this campaign is really very interesting. And I cannot wait to, experience the wild card that you have hidden up your sleeve. Wonderful. Yeah. Very good. Very good. Okay. What was the media marketing mix like?
So
for
I
this
think,
campaign?
Pawan, I feel that because Lay's is a mass brand, and for us, I really believe in a very healthy mix of broadcast and narrowcast, because broadcast is going to give you that reach, right? It's like a machine gun. It gives you massive reach in 1 or 2 weeks, right? So broadcast is definitely going to be an important reach builder for us. But narrowcast is where I have a lot of fun with, because I feel narrowcast is a two-way conversation, right? Because TV is a single, one-way street. Like, the campaign comes, people watch it, and that's it. But but narrowcast, which is your digital and your social, that's where conversations can happen, where, people can type in things, they can react, they can like and share, right? The campaign. So I feel that we have a good mix of both broadcast as well as narrowcast, because I do believe that a campaign like this needs to get a lot of eyeballs, and it should really be unmissable and it should be unskippable, right? So I feel that's really our intent, and I think our media team is helming that bit really well for us.
Wonderful, wonderful. Elections are coming now, right? It's the season. Some people will say, oh, elections or politics or whatever is not a brand safe environment to be in. So, are you going to be using the election season on news to get some kind of frequency?
I think we're very aware of what's happening in the country, to be honest, Pawan. But I feel that for us, it's really about reaching the consumers. And I think,
Whatever the pipelines.
no, I mean, in the sense that it's not, we will go where the numbers are.
Right.
Right, we will advertise where the numbers are, but I don't think we do it in any pre-mediated way. Right, we are not sitting and thinking that, okay, let's try to capitalize on it. Right, I don't think that's ever the intent for us. But yeah, I feel that we will ensure, and I think the campaign started in January, so I feel that we would have adequate reach build up that would have happened. But yeah, we will ensure that we tap into channels and mediums where consumers are actually intently watching. So I feel that that's the way we kind of look at it from an organization perspective, but I don't think we do it in a very motivated manner.
Tell me, what is your view, Saumya, on using big stars? You use them and you've always used them. PepsiCo and all its units, especially big ones, its bigger ones like Lay's, etc. They've used film stars. How and when do you use influencers, if you do? What's your view on influencer marketing and using them for performance marketing?
I think, Pawan, for me, and I've always kind of said that, and I always maintain that, I feel that your story, your insight is very important. And I think I'll always start there. I'll always start from a marketing campaign, from a consumer insight perspective. Now, if that story can be authentically brought alive by big celebrities, then definitely go and do that, right? Because I feel that that's important. And of course, every brand has their own budget and everything. So I do feel that
Sure.
it has to really be in the service of the brand. It has to be in service of Lay's. It has to be in service for Pepsi or for any of the other brands that we really have, right? From a perspective of a communication, right? And from an influencer point of view, I think what's important is that influencers are also becoming the new celebrities. And they're becoming people that you can get influenced by, right? So I feel that in that case, you have to also use influencers to tell that story. Some influencers could be topical, and you kind of, if you want, you could like ride that wave. But I think they have to really take the brand narrative forward, or they have to take that insight narrative forward. It has to really be from a perspective of strengthening what the brand really stands for. And I feel that there are different devices, there are different channels, there are different mediums, right? So whatever mix you kind of want to deploy, you should deploy it in a manner to really reach your consumers. And I really do think that Pepsi as an organization has always been at the forefront of being the first mover when it came to a lot of these things, right? Like even from an influencer marketing perspective, I think we have done campaigns and we kind of paved the way and we created case studies for other brands to follow. So I'm really, really proud of what the organization has done. And I think for us, given the nature or the stature that we really have within the FMCG world, I think it's incumbent on us to really create new playbooks and new case studies. And I feel that we all have done that in the past.
Excellent. You say you have a huge team with you in marketing, and obviously you would. But as somebody who has come from some top entities and worked with places like ITC, Marico, yeah. So I want to ask you to cast your mind back on the other three places, the big places that you worked before you came on to Pepsi, right? And tell me, what were the big learnings from there which are dear to you, insights, or whatever that you brought with you to your table? So, what learnings from there have you deployed? If you can think of something. And I wanted to surprise you with this question, okay? So, and secondly, and because these things they always stay with you, right? And secondly, what in the PepsiCo India culture has really inspired you? And how does a synthesis of all your learning so far, including the PepsiCo India, make you what you are today, which who I see as a very successful, very impactful, very effective, very strategic marketer?
I think,
So
Pawan,
what's helped you over
we
the
are
point?
like a sum total of all our experiences, right? And I do believe that when I look
Yes.
back, I feel, and I really like this analogy because I feel it's almost like you create like a compost heap of everything that you've really, been through. So I feel that genuinely, I think, like I said, I mean, really, have a lot of gratitude for the journey that I've had. I think at ITC, ITC was my foundational bedrock. So I think it'll always be the company that I kind of learned everything at. It's the first company that I joined after campus, and I had the opportunity to work with some really passionate and really driven people. And I think that kind of really made me realize that
Hmm.
if you have to get somewhere, you have to work hard. It's not like you have to be at the right place at the right time. I think I learned the value of hard work at IDC because I was just
Hmm.
a new girl there, and I saw leaders who were working so hard and who were creating history, right? So I feel that that's I think I learned the value of hard work at IDC. And I joined
Lovely.
Amazon shortly after that because Amazon is like the backyard in Bangalore, right? And I'm a Bangalore girl. So then I joined Amazon, and I
Hmm.
feel that organization is just wonderful in terms of the kind of empowerment that they kind of give people, right? And they have this huge philosophy that there are not going to be any presentations. Whatever you have to say, you write that in a Word document, and everyone actually joins on time for meetings. So I think I learned the power of really saying what you have to say in a very impactful way.
Crystallizing
Yeah,
your
at
thoughts.
Amazon. And I think, of course, the discipline really comes from Amazon as well, right? So I think I had a short tenure there, but I think I loved my stint there. I think my
Hmm.
mentor and my manager was amazing at Amazon.
You want to name anybody from your past companies?
Amazon, there was Aparna, who's been a deep influence. And I think at ITC, I worked very closely with VL Rajesh and Kavita. I think I really looked up to
Wonderful.
them, and I think I still will always do because they were phenomenal and they were really instrumental in shaping me. And so I think, I think I got really lucky. And at
Hmm.
Marico, I feel that Marico is an amazing
It's a feisty place
it's an
for marketing.
amazing organization because I was in Bombay and it was the first time a Bangalore girl was going to Bombay. And I just loved my stint there. I feel that they have a concept in Marico. And I really believe Harsh Mariwala is amazing at some of the culture, things that he does there. So he has this concept where he says that, everyone is a CEO, which is Chief
Wow.
Empowered Officer. And I think very early on in my
Wonderful.
career, I think I became so fearless and so empowered. So I think I learned the value of being fearless at
Hmm.
Marico's.
So I see three
Yeah.
things here. One, the value of
Yeah.
hard work. And when a youngster, a young girl, or a guy who's just joining or starting his or her career learns that right on day one, inspired by the kind of wonderful people you mentioned as well, along with the team, that's beautiful. Your knee, your foundation is just absolutely beautifully laid. Then you went on to the process and the discipline and the ability to crystallize and communicate what you have to say beautifully at Amazon with people like Aparna and the rest. And then you spoke about culture, right? At Mr. Mariwala's Marico. So fabulous. What a nice confluence you are of so many good things. Soumya. Tell me about
I
PepsiCo
think
now.
PepsiCo is a fantastic organization. I feel that I have, I feel that it has the right mix of entrepreneurial energy and process. Because I feel that if you have an idea, the whole system is going to mobilize themselves to execute that. And I feel that I've worked with some really incredible leaders. I feel that some of the best leaders I've met in my life are at PepsiCo. So I think I had the opportunity to work with some fantastic marketeers like Vishal, Tarun, George, and of course Anshul. I think they are amazing leaders, and and of course PepsiCo is all about foods and beverages, right? And I think I have the opportunity to have learned from the best in beverages, and now I'm learning from the best in foods as well. So I think everything that I am, I actually feel, and this is like my analogy. I feel that my previous three companies, I was just like a teenager, I was like a kid. Then I went to like kindergarten, and then so I feel like those were my growing up years. I think at PepsiCo, it's been like a coming of age for me, right? So I think this is where I've kind of,
Wonderful. Well said.
flourished, and this is where I've kind of come into my own, so to speak, right under the mentorship and
Wow.
aegis of some amazing, amazing leaders, that I've had the privilege of working. So I think PepsiCo has I think it's a leadership academy. So I think if I'm a better person, if I'm a better human being, that's because I have learned from a lot of the people that I've been working with.
Superb, superb. You know something? All that you just recounted is really like we are digital here right now, but it's like a cut and keep for every young professional. What is it that they should look out for? What should they be attuned to? And you just mentioned that you have you have a good, wonderful team, obviously, because everything that you do, the kind of work that you bring out is a collective effort and it shines, it sparkles. Now, tell me, you have lots of people. Now, it's all about empowering them. How do you ensure that the youngsters who work with you, when you are in meetings and you ask them for their opinions and views, etc., it isn't a chorus of yes people just because the junior most looks at his senior and says, okay, he wants to say that, she wants to say that. How do you inspire them to say, hey, tell me what you think, not what you think is right to say? How do you do that?
Marketing happens if everyone kind of operates in a very safe environment, right? So I really believe in kind of creating that environment. I think I also have very high standards. I really think that I have very high benchmarks for myself, right? Like I feel like you have to kind of hit that. So I do feel some people manage it and some people
Need help.
Don't need help, right? So I think how do you kind of tailor make it? So I think for some people you'll have to be very like task oriented, that this is what you have to do now, just move from this task to the other. But for the ones who manage to clear that benchmark, I feel that I need to learn from them. I think I feel that it's not a place where I am coaching and it's not like learn by osmosis and just pick that up, right? I think there are so many instances where my current team has kind of taught me something new, or they've coached me back. So I do believe that I fundamentally believe that, yeah, of course, experience matters, but marketing is not rocket science, right? It is something that we all have, can have a point of view about, because it's so, so subjective. It's like, okay, this movie has released. Do you like that movie or you not like that movie, right? Like everyone has a point of view on it. So I feel that I like people who have a point of view. I like people who are curious, but I like people who are willing to put in the miles, because I fundamentally, Pavan, and I may sound like a school teacher on this one, but I do feel that marketing is not glamour. It's not glamorous. It's not about those ads. It's not about sitting with those film stars. It's not about that. It's about so many things that happen behind the scenes. It's about commercialization. It's about, okay, what is my consumer insight? What is my PNL? Am I willing to go and get a test proof done of a color of my packaging to make sure that that packaging color is the right color, right? So I think there's a lot of attention to details. There's a lot of data centricity. There's a lot of consumer centricity that we kind of have to build in the team, right? And I feel that that is where I really like to see people really, hit that benchmark, because for me that's important.
Correct. So I guess it's a mix of the kind of learning and development that comes directly or indirectly when people are made to be conscious of all these aspects that you just listed, all crucial,
Absolutely.
critical aspects. And secondly, the kind of work culture that I'm sure you have enabled and created in your teams, because you're the kind of person who is definitely very easy to speak with. And I think you're the kind of person who will remember and hark her mind back to the days when she was learning and the kind of patience she got, and you will probably give that back and
Absolutely. I
more.
believe in
So
paying it forward. And I also believe that while my journey has been nice on paper, I feel that I've been in environments which have been toxic as well, right? Like environments that have
oh,
been not really healthy. But I believe that, we have to change that. So for my team, for me, it's really important that they are okay. For me, their health, their mental health, their mental sanity, their physical health, everything matters as much as, what they bring on the table from a work perspective. Because I do believe, Pavan, that it's a mixture of head, hearts, and hand. You can train people from a head perspective, you can train them from a hand perspective, but you have to take care of their hearts. But it's a journey. I don't think I've aced it yet. So I have to, put that disclaimer. I feel that I have a long way to go, but I feel that I have the right intentionality.
wonderful. And I feel you will go a very, very long way, Soumya. Truly, touch wood. I want to ask you about one more thing. This is something that every business head, every marketing head definitely is seized with nowadays. Okay. Actually has been on the front burner for a long time, but never expressed as being so important. Then, because earlier it was one to many, only mass media talking to millions and with one message, and the millions not being able to express themselves. But now you have social, and now reputations can be broken and damaged. Reputations can be made in
Yeah,
a long,
100%.
much longer time than it takes to damage something instantly. One spark on Twitter and it can become a flash, and suddenly you're in deep, unmentionables. The point I'm making is reputation management is truly critical, crucial. In the past, young PR agency professionals would say, I will give you so much coverage. I've done this. I've given you so many clips. Yeah, it's important, definitely important. But in today's day and age, that's just a part of the reputation management. So, how do you approach ensuring that reputation management is sort of taken care of? Because it's a never ending process. How do you approach it, and how do you ensure that everybody is a brand reputation
I think
ambassador?
that's a very good question, because I feel that we get a lot of love from consumers and we are very grateful for the love that we get. But also, we get a lot of feedback from consumers, right? So we have a lot of emphasis from a social listening perspective, where we are constantly listening and evaluating the level of a tweet or the level of a comment on Instagram, right? And I think that our social listening team is fabulous. And we're constantly, our ears are on the web, if there is a phrase like that. We're constantly listening to our consumers. There have been instances where we have proactively kind of taken measures where we felt that, this could be inflammatory.
Hmm.
But I think it all depends on the risk appetite of the brand and the way they kind of want to approach it, right? Like for me, I'm someone who believes that you listen to consumers, take their feedback, and see what needs to be done, because we are in the business of generating smiles, right? As an organization, so we take our comments from consumers very seriously. Of course, there are things that sometimes we can do about it and things that we can't do about it. But we are very cognizant about it. And even if there's a decision to not respond, the decision has been taken with a lot of due diligence, right? So I think our ears are always on the web, Pavan, on this one.
Okay. So, always conscious about and being proactive and
Yeah.
reactive as required to any reputation threats or even
Yes.
wonderful opportunities.
Like I feel like we talk so much about the hate that we receive, but I feel the team at Burnett and my team, they came up with a very nice concept which is called Lays Ki Love Commentary, right? Where I feel that there's so many nice things that people say about their green lays and their blue lays, that we felt, okay, let's give that portal, let's give that a platform, and let's give that emphasis. So I feel that we listen very closely to both the things, And I really am proud of how consumer-centric we are as a team.
Wonderful. And tell me, you mentioned something very nice. As a business, you're in the business of spreading smiles, right? And that happens because of the effect of consuming your products. Let's put it that way first, right? How about the aspect of spreading smiles through responsibility, corporate social responsibility? So, what are your CSR initiatives? Any that you might?
Question, Pawan, and it's a question that is close to my heart a lot, because I feel that while we say PepsiCo is a marketing organization, we believe it's an agro company. Like, we believe that, Lay's does what it does because we have a network of more than 27,000 farmers at the ground level, right?
Wow.
So I do feel that as an organization, we take a lot of pride in trying to make our farmers, equipped with the skills and the knowledge that it really, takes to, even produce our chips, right? And it's not from a very capitalistic intent. It's really from an intent of, giving them technology, giving them empowerment, and making them better at what they do. And I feel that Amit and the team that was prior to me, I think they did some wonderful campaigns, which were initiatives like Smart Farm and Biochar. And we do some amazing things even from a factory perspective, that how do we ensure that, we give back as much as what we take from the world, right? So I feel that we have some very solid principles around it. And I'm so proud of the company for doing initiatives which empowering women farmers. Not many people know that 80% of the laborers in a farm are actually women, right? So when you think of a visual thing of a farmer, you'll always think of a male portrait. But there's so many women. And I think the organization with a lot of third parties have done some wonderful initiatives, which are, going in their training and their empowerment and livelihood. So I feel we really believe it's an agro company at the heart of it. And we take a lot of pride in doing that. So, of course, we have one aspect which is all about agriculture. But there's also another aspect where we want to give products which are good for consumers and better for consumers. So we have a range from a Quaker perspective, which is really healthy, right? And we are also constantly ensuring that our salt and our sat fat, etc., are compliant by WHO standards. So we constantly keep addressing them, and we are constantly assessing them to ensure that the products that we sell are actually good for consumers as well.
You know what? I could go on and on, but I need to, close our conversation with a lot of reluctance, because it's been very, very interesting for me. And I'm sure my listeners and viewers would have got a lot of insights from you. You are sparkling, you are spontaneous, and you are really effervescent in your thoughts, your knowledge, and the manner in which you shared them. So really very nice. It's been a wonderful chat, very insightful for me. What did you think of your chat with me on MVP, the Master's Voice podcast?
I loved it, Pawan. I think it's my first podcast. And I'm a marketing junkie. So I think you can get me talking on marketing for 1 hour, 2 hours. And I'll keep, talking about it, because I passionately do believe that marketing can be a force of good, right? And I really believe that we can influence people. And I think having a conversation with you, thank you so much for making it so comfortable. It was almost like speaking to a friend. So it was good. And I wish, we could have done this in person as well. But I love being on your podcast. It's my first podcast, so I'll always remember it.
Wow.
And thank you so much for doing this.
You are so gracious. Very, very kind. Thank you very much. And thanks also to Trisha Sharma and Parushi Sharma, your comms partners from Edelman, who made this interaction possible. Also, Amit Nanchahal, your Corp Comms head. So thank you ever so much. Saumya Rathor, category leader for PepsiCo India's popular potato chips business, was my distinguished and very, very insightful guest on this episode of MVP, the Master's Voice podcast from MediaBrief.com. I hope you enjoyed the conversation, found it as insightful as I truly did. Till we meet again in the next episode of MVP, the Master's Voice podcast, this is your host and friend Pawan Chawla saying, take care, stay safe, Bye bye.